Welcome. I'm Brian Garner, and this is We Have the Power.
Stand for something right.
In this episode, we're going to be covering a cancer that is growing in the heart of this country. And as citizens, we must turn ourselves into doctors and perform surgery to get this cancer out of our country. I'm talking about the Federal Reserve, or the Fed, as we will be referring to it in this show. Let me give you a quote about this whole idea of money and banking. Let us control the money of a nation, and we care not who makes its laws. That was said to be a maxim of the House of Rothschilds, or the moneylenders of the old world. The Fed is the non-U.S. controlled entity which prints and distributes all of our paper money, an entity to which we owe trillions of dollars because they basically sell to us paper with designs on it that looks like our money. It is a scam that must be stopped, because how do we ever pay off the debt with the money they've just given us? The Fed came into being and became charge of our paper money when on December 23rd, 1913, President Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act into law. Now, if you look at that date, December 23rd, 1913, that's right around Christmas time. And the reason they pushed this law through at that time is because most of the senators and congressmen had gone home, and they knew they could sneak it through. After President Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve law into law, this is what he said. I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all of our activities are in the hands of a few men. We have come to be one of the worst ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion. No longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men. President Woodrow Wilson said this after signing into law the Federal Reserve Act, and he felt that he had done something terrible to the country. He had. Now, if the Fed makes money whenever we borrow money, then if you are a police investigator, you could certainly come up with the concept that maybe the Fed benefits when the United States is involved in wars, because we don't have the money set aside to fight wars, so we go to the Fed and borrow the money. After World War II, things were pretty rosy in this country, but then the Korean War started, and the Vietnam War, and wars, and then the Middle East, where people forget because with their busy lives, they don't have a chance to really access information, and the government withholds it from us for the most part. Over $5 or $6 trillion spent on the Middle East war for nothing. And guess who got the trillions of dollars and the interest that we have to pay on that? The Federal Reserve. Now, all of us have bank cards with at least $1,000 on them. We pay $35 or $50 a month on those cards, and the interest sometimes is $15 or $20. Can you imagine the interest debt on trillions of dollars? It is a cancer on this country. Now, Bill Still is a true patriot. He has award-winning videos on the Fed and documentaries, which I encourage you to watch. They are very, very easy to understand. He takes you through the history of moneylenders and the Fed Very vital to watch these. I also support him monetarily monthly. Many people have been assassinated at quite suspicious times who stood against the bankers and the Fed. President Lincoln, when he wanted to support the Civil War, went to the bankers and said, I need to borrow money. They said, well, here's the interest rate that you can have. And it was way too high, so Lincoln said, no, I'm going to print my own money. And he put green ink on the back of them, and that's where the term greenbacks came from. Shortly after, Lincoln was assassinated. President Andrew Jackson was the only president to pay off the debt and resisted the bankers getting chartered again. An assassin fired at him with 2 separate guns, and they both failed to fire. But the assassin said he had support from European banking interests. Here's another quote that I think you'll find quite interesting. Whoever controls the volume of money in any country is the absolute master of all industry and commerce. And when you realize that the entire system is very easily controlled, one way or another, by a few powerful men at the top, you will not have to be told how periods of inflation and depressions originate. That was said by President James Garfield. 2 weeks after he made this statement and realized what was going on with the bankers, he was assassinated. Reagan was talking about changes in the banking industry and was fired upon. Luckily, he lived, but when he got back in the White House, he never mentioned those changes again. President Kennedy was talking about changes with the Federal Reserve, and as we know, was assassinated under very suspicious circumstances. Now, the U.S. bankers have their own magazine, and something in 1892 rings home today. This was 1892. Listen to this. We must keep the people busy with political antagonisms. By dividing the electorate this way, we will be able to have them spend their energies at struggling amongst themselves on questions that for us have no importance whatsoever. And that's what exactly they have us doing today. Bill Still, who is the award-winning documentarist who has done documentaries on the Fed, said this: it's nothing but pure extortion. Remember, all this money we're giving the banks so they don't fail is at interest. Money we are borrowing from them to give to the banks. Then these very same banks have the audacity to loan this money back to us at more interest. This system has got to go. We can make this the new civil rights movement, the new human rights movement. From my own book, Plan for America and the World, we must get back to a federal monetary system where we are printing our own paper money, as well as distributing it. Under such a system, our economy will flourish in the same way that other countries, including America, did whenever the central banking interests were severely limited in their power and control over the supply of money. Now, we have the power, I always talk about what you can do, because I do not give you a dark scenario and then just leave you to feel like, well, it's hopeless. No, there are things that you can do to make a difference, and here they are. Number one, only support public servants, my new name for politicians, who will support divorcing the U.S. from the Fed and having the U.S. government print its own paper money. Number one. Number two, get your friends and associates to watch this show and The Secret of Oz, the documentary on the Fed that Bill Still put together, which he won an award for. Number 3, educate your children on these issues so they do not become confused by what they are being taught in schools, and they know what they're up against when they become adults. Now, let's talk a minute for a situation where the U.S. is printing our own money. No debt associated with that money. And let's say we want to rebuild the infrastructure. Well, we put out bids. We find companies that are proper. They are able to rebuild our infrastructure, and we print the money to pay them for what they need to be able to rebuild our bridges and our roads and all of that are really quite old. That company would then buy trucks and supplies. The employees of those companies would now have a paycheck. They would go out and buy the things they need, food and clothing and maybe new cars. Can you see how the United States printing our own money with no debt associated actually puts energy into our economy? And we rebuild our infrastructure, which in many cases, some of the bridges were built in the 30s, and they really need to be repaired. We cannot accomplish this with the Federal Reserve controlling the printing of our money. Something that happened recently that I'm aghast about, and I hope that you noticed, and I hope that many people noticed. I don't call him president, I call him Resident Biden, because I do not feel he's there legitimately. He made a person the head of our Treasury Department, Janet Yellen. She is a former head of the Federal Reserve. She was the head of the Federal Reserve. She now is over our money as the Secretary of Treasury. Let me tell you something comedic. That is like bringing the fox into the hen house, and the lead hen is saying, come on in. Terrible situation. Now I have some items in the news. The first item in the news is I've started a new organization. It's called DOOO with an exclamation point. Democrats out of office. Okay, I don't know where it's going to go, but let's get that done. The next thing I want to bring up is there's been a lot of concern and talk about the Georgia governor making a new law about voting. And they're saying that it's stopping people from voting. And the Democrats are saying all kinds of lies about this. All he did was to say that you either have to have a DMV ID card or a driver's license in order to vote. And people who are trying to influence your vote cannot give you food and water and be buddy-buddy with you in the voting line. Now, I want to let you know, I've gone through the disaster preparedness training 3 times. I carry in my car 2 emergency kits. Is it too much to ask our voters that if they know the voting lines are going to be long, bring a little small pack with you with some water and a food bar? I don't think it's too much when you look at the value and the importance of voting. And this law should be supported. Instead, people like Coca-Cola are pulling out of the state. The baseball was going to have their all-star game. They're pulling out of the state. I think we should boycott these companies, because if you have to show an ID to be able to vote, and we do not let people give goodies to people in line to alter their voting, our vote will be factual, valid, and ethical. There's some local news here in Nevada. The North Las Vegas mayor has switched to being a Republican, and this is why. North Las Vegas Mayor John Lee announced Tuesday that he is leaving the Democratic Party and becoming a Republican, citing a shift in the Democratic Party toward socialism. I hope to have him on our show to talk about why he made that change. There is something from my hometown of Oakland, which I think is a travesty. Oakland launches a plan to pay low-income families $500. The minute you start giving people kinds of money like this, you shift them into neutral as far as being responsible for themselves. All the Democrats want to do is give more to people because they're trying to buy votes, not because their policies are something that very many people should support. From Hartford, Connecticut, workers to knock on doors to encourage getting shots. They have no business coming to anyone's home. It is a right you have whether you get the COVID vaccine or not. This one is a First Amendment danger. High Court ponders police entry without a warrant. They are saying in some cases, if they deem it necessary, they can knock down your door and come in, and they did to this gentleman. He wasn't trying to take his own life. They confiscated his guns. He had to sue them to get his guns back. They had no warrant. This is what the British did, and this is why we have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights, and individuals have no right trying to dismantle that wonderful law that protects all of us. The White House is working on plans to have COVID-19 tied in with your passport. I don't believe that's correct. The city of Evanston, Illinois is the first city to offer reparations. I don't believe this is right either. The people that need reparations have passed away many years ago. The people who are living today need job training so they don't have to be on welfare, so they can stand on their own. That's pretty much what Republicans stand for. Democrats want people dependent, so they guarantee votes. And that is not the way to win an election. Joe Biden, who said that he was going to unify, lurches further to the far left. That is because I believe that the Democratic Party is covertly being run by individuals who have no interest in our freedoms and liberties, and that's what this whole show is about. I'm asking you to participate. Take the actions that I've mentioned in this show. Make sure that you are taking some steps each week, each month. When you live in a free society, darn it, there is a certain amount of responsibility you have to take, because if you don't, someone will be chipping away at our freedoms and liberties. My job is to educate, motivate, activate, and bring you up to need for change so we never, ever lose our freedoms and liberties. And no matter how dark it gets, no matter how difficult it looks, no matter the laws that get enacted, remember, we have the power. I hope you'll join me next time. Thank you. And stay tuned. There's a way that you can get a free copy of my book, an environmental report, and a very important series of books for your children regarding the dangers of drugs. Again, thank you for watching.
Stand for something right. Build a raging waterfall. As an individual, you're powerful. 'Cause you can change the world.
Hello. If you would like either an emailed version or an actual copy of my book, Plan for America and the World, just send me an email to bgardner2323@yahoo.com stating which you prefer. You will receive a free copy of my book, and I even pay the shipping. You will also receive a copy of a special report I co-authored called Global Warming is a False Threat Based on Faulty Science, from a group I am the founder and president of, Advanced Technology Research. You will also receive either the link to obtain the booklets or 2 booklets from the Drug-Free World Organization, The Truth About Drugs and The Truth About Marijuana. The Truth About Marijuana also comes in a Spanish version. Please specify which you would like, or you can receive both. It is vital that the information in my book, the special report, and the anti-drug booklets are read by as many people as possible, so we never lose our freedoms and liberties. Thank you.
As we continue to grow and build a brand, social media shows continue to develop and discover new possibilities to help one another. Our affordable services will help us move to the next level of our journey. Host your own show to inspire or entertain others for as low as $150 per month.
We have 20 shows a week, live stream.
We are looking for sponsors. We showcase your business products and services on our network to be seen by your target market for as low as $200 a month.
That's 2 percentage points short of reaching critical mass, which will lead to faster results. We have 20 plus shows with a reach of over 80,000. We'll give you commercial ads, website link, and connections to nonprofit organizations.
Let us promote and advertise your event, giving your venue the red carpet treatment. This platform allows venues that feature entertainment, singers, bands, DJs, comedy, fashion, corporate events, and family events to be showcased in a new direction that also involves your audiences starts at $200 an hour. We also provides video editing, website builder, commercial video for your business, music videos, photography, provided by our affiliates. As we build our community, we pay it forward. Our nonprofit organization GI Connections is all about giving back to our community. Join us create outreach programs to help our community and live a happy, peaceful, and unity. Let us bring the world to you.
Live streaming on social media is the best new way to interact and bond with your community. Do you love to encourage, motivate, and empower others, but you do not know how? Well, your opportunity starts with us on social media shows. We have 20 shows a week live streamed across the globe, with a reach of over 80,000 and growing. So you can host your own show, and you can be anything you want to be. So let's bring the community together, and let's bring the world to you. Join us now. We've reached the age of live streaming on social media shows. You may ask, we're already ahead of the curve, so why do you need to advertise with us? Well, only 8% of the businesses in the US are using digital advertising to grow their business. That's 2 percentage points short of reaching critical mass, which will lead to faster results. We have 20 plus shows with a reach of over 80,000. We'll give you commercial ads, website link, and connections to nonprofit organizations. So get your brand ready for digital monetization, for we are looking for sponsors, which will bring more traffic to your business and ultimately mean more sales. So let's bring the world to you.